You're welcome back to the Pulse and the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now let's talk about our Muslim brothers. Year on year, that annual pilgrimage where they're going to spend some time in the presence of Allah is here again. The Hajj, annual Hajj pilgrimage is on for this year. But in the past, we've had problems with it, but it has been improving over the past 2 to 3 years now. But for this particular Hajj that Muslims will embark on, what will be different about it? What are some of the improvements that have been put in place ahead of this trip for this year 2016? Joining us in the studio is the Deputy Communications Director for the National Hajj Board, Mohammed Amin Lamte. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
I'm grateful for having me.
I always look at you with the sports lens, but today we're talking something different.
Life is all about being creative. We all started with sports, but sometimes you need to be creative. You need to identify with certain areas where you have certain expertise, just to serve Mother Ghana, serve humanity. At the end of the day, when you know more, you go stand before God, and God is going to give you all the needed rewards. So that is exactly what we're doing.
That's fine. So let's talk about the Hajj that's coming up this year. In the past, we've seen some challenges. It has been improving in the past 2-3 years. But for this year's Hajj, what's going to be special about it in terms of preparation?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Let me also say good evening to your cherished viewers wherever they are, and I'm excited to be here. I'm so excited with your preamble. You've made it clear as somebody who has been following Hajj over the years. So definitely we have an antecedent where we need to identify certain areas where we need to improve upon what we're doing. The current Hajj committee came into being in 2013. The leadership taken by Alhaji Abdurrahman Tonko Ibrahim, we've seen massive changes. Now we have to give kudos to those who started out before he came on board. We've seen massive improvement, talking about a flight schedule, talking about even managing the programs here in Ghana and in Saudi Arabia, talking about even luggage, talking about even medical attention and all that. So I think it has been smooth for the past years. This year we have a different dimension altogether, because for the past years all the slot that we have when it comes to our flight schedule, they all take off at the Kotoka International Airport. But this year we have 3 flights taken off from the Tamale International Airport. So you see the dimension. So it means that we have a lot of things to do. We've put in everything in perspective, and we hope we are on course when it comes to preparation.
Okay. Now there are always 2 legs to the Hajj. What happens here in Ghana in airlifting the Muslims to Saudi Arabia, and also how they are taken care of when they get there. Last year, I recall there was a stampede in Saudi Arabia during the Hajj. Let's first talk about what happens here in transporting them to Saudi Arabia. Then we'll talk about how you protect them and how we ensure that we see less and less casualties in the Hajj for this year. In terms of preparations for here, airlifting the Muslims, converging them at one center and airlifting them safely to Saudi Arabia, what's the plan?
Well, the plan is that, over the years, we have challenges regarding how to keep them at one place so that you'll be able to manage them, because I believe that Hajj is purely about administration. It is all about management. It's about communication. It's about relationship, exactly what the current chairman has introduced. So last year, yes, we had a challenge, as you said, regarding this stampede, and even beyond the stampede, Ghana, before we airlifted our will-be programs, we had challenges with late payment. So the late payment really affected the visa issuance. So we had delay. So when the Saudi government shut down their system, it affected some of the will-be programs. So some of them couldn't make it. So this year we opened for payment very early in March, so that people can pay on time, and then it can also help to fast track the process. So that was why we brought the deadline on the 15th of July. We extended to on the 23rd, and then now we have closed it. But yet still, there's some space that people can easily go and pay. But that is for the payment. And when it comes to the management, we are dealing with the agents who are more or less like very close to their clients who are the will-be programs. We also have another dimension where will-be programs can also pay direct to the Hajj board. We call them the direct payee. We deal with them when it comes to when they should get prepared to travel. Talking about the itinerary for travel and everything, we have done that. Talking about the Hajj village, as we speak now, when we go there, we are putting everything in perspective, because this year we have 2 Hajj villages in our processes, because we have one at the Tamale Jubilee Park, where so far I think we are almost about 70% complete, because from there then we then transport them them to the Tamale airport, and then you come to the usual Hajj village here. So I think everything is done. We will be done with the interview for our nurses and the potential doctors that will go and take care of our will be pilgrims. We're talking about
how many will go with them? How many
so far? I think
staff?
We are targeting about, including the doctors. I think we're looking forward to, let's say, about 7 doctors and about 33 nurses in all. So far about 40 of them for the medical team.
One new thing that many have been looking at is the flying the Muslims or the pilgrims from Tamale straight to Saudi Arabia. How's that arrangement?
The arrangement has been very effective because it was His Excellency the President in 2014 when he came to the Hajj village at the airport, when he saw the population. I mean the atmosphere was not all that good. So he suggested from there that, look, we can really decentralize. The airlifting of our program. So he suggested about the Tamale airport, and then a contract was given to a contractor who has done a yeoman's job. As we speak now, it has been expanded. The runway and everything at the airport has been done, and NAS Air, who are our airline partners, came and monitored the place. They came and supervised the place, and they've approved it. So that is why they want to start with 3 flights. So the 3 flight is going to 500 on each flight. So we're doing about 1,500 pilgrims will be on board for the 3 flights. They will start on the 19th and end on 21st, and then we come back to Accra to start on 22nd and end on the 30th of this month. So that is the arrangement so far.
Okay, all right. Now I do remember that there were some issues with the stampede last year. Some Ghanaians involved. How many were they?
Yeah, very well. For now, I think that after everything, I think the Ghanaians who actually died through the stampede, I think is close to about 35. It's still 35. Some got missing. But at the end of the day, Ghana, we are very fortunate that those who died through the stampede, we've got to know them. Those who died naturally, we've got to know them. Those who also got missing, before we even wind up with our activities, we're able to discover them and bring them home.
Okay, so for those who got missing, how many were they? How many are back?
No, the missing, it was really quite a bit dicey because there are people who travel to the pilgrimage, but they will decide to go to their family members in Saudi Arabia. So you go to their hotel rooms, they are nowhere to be found, but you find out that they've gone to their friends. There's a possibility that maybe a pilgrim will be staying, maybe let's say Hotel A, will have a friend in Hotel B, and will then quickly sneak out to that person in Hotel B. So he'll be there. When you come in monitoring and maybe trying to check around and be able to know the number, you don't see a pilgrim, you think that person has gotten missing, but before you realize the person has went to perch with a friend in another hotel. So that is the scenario.
For those who are missing.
Absolutely.
For those who died, is there anything you've done for their families?
I don't think that, for what we know from our perspective, because from our perspective, we are the Hajj board. We have Ghana's mission in Saudi Arabia, led by His Excellency Alhaji Said Sinari. When it comes to that aspect, I think is quite a bit diplomatic. He needs to sit down with the Saudi government and sort things out, whether there is any compensation for those who died.
But it's been a year. I'm sure you know if something has happened.
I'm not too sure, but I was told that they are still working because the number is huge. The number is huge, and it cut across. So they are looking forward to make sure that the right things are done. They wouldn't want to go, doing it haphazardly. So that at the end of the day, some people would think that they were sort of giving a raw deal. So they are taking their time to do the right thing at the right time.
Because tell you what, we've been doing our own checks on this. Some have gone to see the High Commissioner to Saudi Arabia, Mr. Sinari, as you mentioned, and they are getting next to no response. And that's why I'm asking whether or not there's a plan here to have the families who've had their relatives die as a result of this be compensated.
The issue about Muslim or Islam is an exciting thing, but we need to understand the concept of Islam. And as a Muslim, there are certain things that you need to understand it wholeheartedly, because some of us, as I'm sitting here, I wish to die in Saudi. You ask me why? Because I know what it takes to go and die there as a Muslim. So many a times you may even have these aged, their vision is to go and worship Allah, but they want to die there. You find it quite a bit funny, but that is the scenario. What I'm saying here is that as a Muslim, God knows where you will die. Regardless of any human involvement or whatever, God knows where you will die. So we believe that those who died, it was their time that was due. That was why they died.
In the stampede?
Absolutely. That is the way you see it. As we sit in here, if my time is due, God will never add a second. I have to leave here. I would sit in this seat. In that instant, you'll be mentioning my name. I will never respond because my time is due. That is what we believe in. Yes, stampede is caused by human, but I can tell you sometimes God would use human beings to create certain things just to teach you some lessons for you to learn certain things. So we as Muslims, we believe that yes, what happened was wrong. It was due to some negligence on the part of the security and what have you. Yes, fine. But
so why don't you draw the line between the two? It being destined for you to die and the human element and dealing with the human element. So somebody who it was not his time to, that as a result of someone's negligence.
We don't believe in that perception that it is not your time. We believe that regardless of the circumstances surrounding your death, we believe that it is God. So what I'm saying here, as much as I appreciate and empathize with the families of those who lost their lives, in terms of compensation,
they should be demanding compensation.
No, it is their right to demand compensation. But I'm saying that Islamically, we have people who have gone to Hajj and died in family, not that they are not worried, not that there was no pain, there was pain, but they give it to God. What I'm saying here is justifiable. That yes, they have to demand compensation, but the question is, why compensation? That is the point that I'm making. So as much as I agree with them, as Muslims, we should let it lie low there. Let us rather pray for them, and God will use them to rather help us to be able to achieve whatever we want in life.
I'm sure there are many who are watching who will not agree with you on this. But for those who want to go for this year's Hajj, who do not want to die as a result of the stampede, what measures are you putting in place as the National Hajj Board in all of this?
No, the Hajj Board, we have done our part when it comes to security. This year, we're trying to utilize some of our ex-servicemen and women. They will go with us. We're dealing with the BNI. We're dealing with certain security apparatus that I wouldn't want to mention here because these are issues that we need to keep behind the scene. And secondly, what is more important for me is about education. Sometimes the human element that you've mentioned that could bring about this stampede and other questionable things, sometimes it is caused by the will-be programs. Sometimes there are certain regulations where to go, where not to go. I have been a witness of so many scenarios where you see what going to throw the stone at the devil, as they call it. They have time because of the huge number. They'll say Ghana, you'll be living from 12, by 3 you are back. Saudi Arabia will go from 3 and back by 5, and then Iran will go from 6 and back by 8. They have time for everything. Even the arrival of flights in Saudi Arabia, in Medina, in Mecca, they have time. Even moving from Mecca to Mina, they have time for every country. From moving from Mina to Arafat, they have time for every country. From Arafat to Muzdalifah, you have time
because it's organized.
Absolutely. But you see, the reason why we have some of these stampede and certain things that are a bit untoward is because of the human involvement. People think that, it is not my time, but people, I want to just go and be free. That is the cause of some of the problem, because this stampede that happened, I can tell you, to all intents and purposes, I went through that road. I was there. Even when I was also going to perform that exercise, there was a bit of stampede. Ours was not all that, too close. But that time, I haven't had it in mind and even asking myself, hey, if stampede happened, what would happen to me? At that time, I left the place just less than 2 hours. My chairman called me. Do you know what is going on? I was then back to Mecca, and I watched the television, and I saw that this was what happened. So the point, sometimes, yes, we may disagree with the Saudi government, but sometimes it is our own negligence and disrespect to rules and regulations that is causing some of these things. Even in Ghana here, we have similar problem. You're talking about even the product that pilgrims should not even carry along. You get to the checkpoint, people still want to try and circumvent just to do things the way they want. At the end of the day, it affects all of us.
Okay, you've already mentioned that the airlifting begins from the 19th of this month.
Well.
What's the plan for the payment? So people pay on time and there are no problems with it?
No, the payment has been very, 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 impressive. Years gone by, it has been a problem, but in this year, we have some massive improvement, especially when the election has been pushed to December. The November thing brought a lot of, if I'm allowed to use the word apathy, because people were quite a bit not really excited to travel because of the elections. But when it was pushed to December, most of them really came back to pay. So payment has been very.
So how many programs are going for this year?
No, for Ghana, our slot is 12,424, and we are doing 11 slots of flights schedule. We are doing 3 in Tamale from 19th to 21st, from 22nd to 30th. We are doing that in Accra. at the Kotoka International Airport.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir, for joining us this afternoon, Mr. Mohammed Amilante. He's the Deputy Head of Communications for the National Hajj Board. The preparations are done. Everything is underway. Two airports will have the airlifting done in Accra and in Tamale. It will be the first in Tamale. 1,500 pilgrims will move from Tamale straight to Saudi Arabia, and then the others will leave from the Kotoka International Airport in this month of August. We will see how.